Are you able to identify any packaging material and or package format that you see are going to be winners or losers moving forward?
That's another great question. I had a fascinating process that I was doing. So I was looking at the future of sustainable packaging for the next 10 years, and I wrote a report precisely that, the future of sustainable packaging the next, 2025 to 2035. And perhaps the most interesting two materials, unsurprisingly, are paper and plastic. Paper because there is a capacity issue, which is kind of ignored at the moment, but there's only so many boxes we can convert cut down trees into. And in fact, we're closing a lot of factories. So we're reducing the amount of those bottles or boxes that can be made. And yet we're sort of saying, well, it's all right, we're going to push everything into paper, for example. So while the demand for the material is going up, the capacity to address that is being reduced or is becoming more and more challenging. So that's one area.
When you say the capacity, though, are you talking about the virgin material? And are many of the companies thinking maybe we don't need as much virgin material because we'll have more recycled material to incorporate into that? Could that be one of the reasons why the capacity is where it is right now?
That might be the case for plastic, but for paper, definitely not. So the
Okay.
paper are much more able to use recycled content and kind of more comfortable with using it, and also with the economics of using it than the plastic people are. But in the case of plastics, the going back to simplicity, the simplest way of explaining it is there's two things. First of all, time. So if companies, again, take time out of the equation, then they would be able to see things like seaweed or mycelium would be great options for quite a lot of packaging activities today, because they have a lot of characteristics and traits that make them a good drop-in solution. They don't affect the manufacturing lines. They're very easy to kind of just drop in as an alternative solution. The issue they have is capacity at the moment. They don't have enough volume to make a direct swap of everything. And the time element of it is that I was looking at the economics of all of the bioplastics and plastics and paper. And at the moment, if you were to take about 6 years or 6.5 years, you would find that seaweed, which is currently about 6 times virgin material costs, would be about half the cost of virgin materials in 6 years. So it would go from being way out of chance for people to want to kind of use it to being actually financially the best decision they could make. The problem is that you would have that 6-year period in the meantime of having to kind of fight your way through all of the economics and the scaling and the piloting. So because most CEOs are more on a kind of 3 or 4 year rolling cycle, they don't have the capacity to say to their shareholders, give me 6.5 years and I'm going to provide you with the best possible material. So they always have this challenge of they want the cheapest material because that keeps their costs and margins down. But it's not necessarily technically the best material they could be using to reach a circular economy. It's just the one that's going to cause them the least risk or the least likelihood that somebody's going to say that's way too expensive and kick them out of their job.
Right. Well, and you can't, one of the risks of that scenario is you can't promise for sure. You can't know for sure
No.
that in 6 years it'll be where it needs to be. because time, the volume increase is what usually decreases the price. And there's so many factors of whether that volume is going to increase or not in that same time period. Even, I would say, even with regulation or subsidies, I don't see that being less risky for a CEO or a CFO, chief financial officer, to just jump in with both feet. I don't see that happening.
Well, I do
Yeah.
the as a gut feeling, I do feel like polyethylene is going to continue to grow in share while polypropylene drops down, because unless something dramatic happens with being able to recycle or recover polypropylene, which is not the case in the States at the moment, then PE is going to give you the better opportunity, because it's more aligned to where the regulation both is now and where it's going to go. So I think that that's going to be you're going to see a shift from PP to PE when companies are able to provide a drop-in solution. And then the only thing that they've got to then manage after that is the heat differential between them. But that would be my initial thoughts, was because I know that was in a previous role, we were forecasting that our PP, which was 90% of what we did as a business, BOPP, would be about 10% of our business by about 2030. So they were hoping that it would go completely the other way around.
Okay, interesting. Well, we could look at it that way and say that the packaging material winners are going to be the ones that have a very strong recycling infrastructure. Not that recycling is the end all be all, but that have the infrastructure and are being recycled. And we already know what those are: fiber, metal, steel, cans. I already said fiber, but corrugated as well as paperboard. There's a lot of different grades, of course. And then, PET and high density polyethylene, as you say, polyethylene for the plastics. Plus all the new materials that may be coming out, seaweed, as you had mentioned, possibly, and other bioplastics, maybe. It'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Do you anticipate that testing is going to be more rigorous than as the packaging developers try to simplify while also ensuring proper performance for the task at hand?
Yes, I do think that the testing is going to become more rigorous, because the answers needed are going to be more definitive. So it's not going to be a kind of, oh, it'd be nice if we can find out if it does this. It's going to be a case of, I won't have my product on the market if it can't. So I need to make sure that it 100% does this. And one of the other issues in the packaging industry over the last, probably mainly last 4 or 5 years, has been that there's been this kind of attitude of good enough. And we've kind of lightweighted slightly beyond the reasonable barrier of what we could have done. So, but before, the material used to be a bit thicker, and it used to be a little bit more robust, and now it's kind of just enough. And so the testing needs to be more rigorous, because there's more opportunity for the seal to fail, or for the thing to puncture, or for something to kind of go wrong, because it doesn't have the slightly excessive material that it may have had 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 20 years ago.
Yes. And that's why it's so difficult to simplify the complexity in packaging. Not only do we have so many different material options that are out there, different package formats that are out there, but every one is a little bit different depending on the product that it's containing. And that makes simplicity that much harder too. So Well, thanks for talking through this, Matthew. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.